So here's part 2 of the 12.4 notes. We're going to find the volume of cylinders. So the formula we're going to use is, notice we'll have base times our height. So remember, B represents the area of the base. So the formula we are really going to use for volume of cylinder is going to be pi r squared times h. So remember, r represents the radius, and of course h represents the height. Okay, we're going to use this formula to go ahead and do a couple of problems. Okay, so see, we have our cylinder, so we are finding the volume of the cylinders. So remember, the formula is going to be our pi r squared h. Okay, so the reason the area of the base is because our base here is going to be circular. That's why we use pi r squared, because that's the area there. Okay, so we need to make sure we know what's the radius and what is the height. So radius, remember, that's going to go off of our circle. In this case, it's going to be the 4. And then our height, remember, that is going to be the vertical part, or the up and down. That's going to be 9. So let's go ahead and plug these into our formula. So we have pi times 4 squared times 9. And then here, what we're going to do is just plug it into our calculator. So remember when we did this, when we did surface area, to do pi, we're going to do second and then the caret key. Then we're going to have 4 squared and then parentheses 9. So kind of how I wrote it out here, I'm going to do exactly the same thing in my calculator. Make sure you do use pi and not just 3.14, because you're actually going to get a better accurate answer when you use that. So make sure you do so. Okay. So in this case, let's go ahead, we're going to round to 2 decimal places. Just make sure you read the instructions so you know if you have to, where to round to. Okay, so we have 452 point, and then we have 38, but we do got to round up because of this 9, so we're going to have 0.39. So that's going to be the volume of this cylinder here. And notice what our units is. We do have meters, RN, so we're going to use that. And because we are finding volume, don't forget you do need to show that cubed. So this would be our final answer here. Okay? Okay, go ahead, pause the video, and do part D. Okay, let's see what you got here. So remember, for our volume, we're going to have pi r squared h. So we need the radius and the height. Now, we actually talked about this when we did surface area. Notice in this case, they actually give you the diameter. So they give you the diameter, you have to divide that number by 2 to get your radius. So in this case, our radius is going to be 3, and then our height is going to be 21. Okay? So I know this is not standing up straight up and down, but that 21 does represent that vertical or the height there. Okay? So now what we're going to do is plug those values into our formula. Make sure you do that. That's how you're going to show your work. So you have pi times 3 squared times 21. And then basically how I just wrote it here, we're going to plug that into our calculator. And we'll round to 2 decimal places if necessary, like we have done before. So remember, second caret key to get that pi, and then parentheses 3 squared, or if you already know what that is, you can just plug that in as well. And then parentheses 21, and then press enter. We have about 593.76. And notice what our units is. It's yards, so we're going to have yards. And then we're going to have as cubed, because we always use cubed to represent volume. And that's our final answer. Okay, make sure you watch part 3. That's where we're going to either find the radius or the height.